The General Lee launching off a dirt ramp. 16 feet in the air. 82 feet of empty sky. That jump happened before the show ever aired, and the car survived the jump, but not the landing. The stunt driver, in every jump, was never the actor you were watching. One of the biggest stars wasn't who producers believed he was. And by the end, America stopped agreeing on what this show meant. The Dukes of Hazzard, 1979 to 1985. A series built on lies, destroyed cars, and a version of the South that even its own stars couldn't fully explain. Fact 1. The world record jump happened on November 11, 1978. The show didn't premiere until January 26, 1979. Stunt driver Craig R. Baxley launched a General Lee 16 feet into the air and 82 feet across a Georgia field, a television stunt record, before a single episode had aired. The show had already made automotive history before its first audience had seen a single frame of it. Fact 2. The producers believed the General Lee was the real star of the show, not the actors. The ratings collapse of Season 5 proved them wrong. When Schneider and Wopat walked out over the merchandise dispute, the studio replaced them with Byron Cherry and Christopher Mayer. Two actors given Bo and Luke episodes to study and told to emulate them. The creator of the series, Guy Waldron, had warned the producers that direct clones wouldn't work. He was overruled. Audiences rejected the replacements within the first episode. Ratings fell sharply. The studio went back to Schneider and Wopat and paid what was owed. Fact 3. Waylon Jennings narrated 144 episodes of the series without ever visiting the set. He was paid per episode. He never asked to see the footage first. He recorded his commentary separately, the voice of Hazzard County, present in every episode, never once on location. Jennings finally appeared on screen in the 7th season, in an episode titled Welcome Waylon Jennings, after fans had spent years asking where he was. Schneider later said, "I'm famous for music by a song I never sang, Crazy." Fact 4. Roscoe's QQ laugh was never in the script. James Best invented it to make the sheriff seem less threatening. Best based the sound on noises he made playing with his children. He reasoned that if Roscoe seemed childlike, audiences wouldn't take him seriously as a threat to the Dukes, which made the comedy work better. He also suggested Roscoe's dog Flash. Both became inseparable from the character. Best attended the Juilliard School and held a black belt in karate. He spent 141 episodes playing a man who falls over his own dog. Fact 5. John Schneider was 18 years old, from New York, and had never been to the South. He told the casting directors he was 24, from Georgia, and a certified stunt driver. He borrowed a dilapidated pickup truck, put on the best Southern accent he could manage, didn't shave, and walked in carrying a beer. The casting directors were looking for a man in his mid-20s with roots in the region. Schneider had none of the above. He got the role anyway. 7 years later, Bo Duke, the quintessential Southern boy, was still being played by a Yankee who had invented himself entirely on the day of the audition. Fact 6. Schneider never once jumped the General Lee himself. He admitted it years later without embarrassment. The image most associated with him, the car in the air, was never him. The stunt team performed every single jump in the series. Schneider drove the General Lee through chases, skids, and near misses, but never off a ramp. The man most associated with the car in the public imagination never experienced what it felt like to leave the ground in it. Fact 7. Boss Hogg's contract contained one absolute condition: he could never deal drugs or kill anyone. Sorrel Book insisted on it personally. Book wore padding under his suit to appear heavier. He based Boss Hogg's voice and Southern accent on U.S. Senator Strom Thurmond. He was a Yale graduate with serious stage and film credentials, including All in the Family. The man who played the most corrupt official in Hazzard County had drawn a firm moral line before production began. Fact 8. The first 5 episodes were filmed in Georgia. Then the entire production moved to Burbank, California, and never came back. All remaining 141 episodes were shot on the Warner Brothers lot in California. When producers needed a replacement charger and couldn't find one at the studio, they approached owners on the street and made offers on the spot. The show that defined the American South spent 96% of its run in a suburb of Los Angeles. The hero lied. The narrator never came. The jumps were real until they weren't. The replacements failed. The studio thought people loved the car. The audience loved the people. Hollywood learned too late. From here, it gets worse. Fact 9. Wopat and Schneider convinced Catherine Bach not to walk out by telling her that negotiating with the studio was man's work. Bach had similar concerns about the merchandise dispute and was ready to leave alongside them. Wopat and Schneider argued, unashamedly, by their own account, that she should stay and let them handle it. The show's creator said later, if Bach had also walked, the series would almost certainly have been cancelled. She stayed. They negotiated. The show survived because 2 men called it man's work and 1 woman let them believe it. Fact 10. When Bo and Luke returned, the production quietly replaced real stunt cars with miniature models to cut costs. The jumps and chases in the later seasons, the sequences that had defined the show's identity, were increasingly performed by scale models rather than real cars with real drivers. The decision was a budget measure, partly intended to compete visually with Kit on Knight Rider. Cast members complained publicly. The audience noticed. The show never fully recovered its earlier energy. Fact 11. After the studio replaced them with clones, after the ratings collapsed, after the settlement, Schneider came back and directed the final episode. He also co-wrote it. Nobody asked him to do both. He was the only cast member ever to write an episode of the show. The teenager who invented himself entirely on day 1 wrote the last hour of the series he had lied his way into. Denver Pyle directed 12 episodes. Tom Wopat 5, Sorrel Book 4, James Best 3, Schneider 1, the last one. Fact 12. The show kept pulling country legends into Hazzard County because guest stars were cheaper than rebuilding storylines. Roy Orbison, Loretta Lynn, Buck Owens, the Oak Ridge Boys, all pulled over by Roscoe, all performing at the Boar's Nest. The celebrity speed trap format required no original plot, just a traffic stop and a stage. The musicians got exposure. The show got a recognizable name without paying for a real script. By season 4, the formula was so established, it no longer needed to pretend it was anything else. The audience showed up anyway. Fact 13. Ben Jones, Cooter the Mechanic, was elected to the United States Congress after the show ended. Then he opened a museum dedicated to it. Jones served 2 terms as a Democratic congressman from Georgia. When he left office, he built Cooter's Place, stores and museums in Tennessee, where he still works as the permanent custodian of a canceled television show. Some people leave the industry. Ben Jones constructed a monument to the part of it that ended and stayed there. Fact 14. While Bo Duke was boycotting his own show over unpaid royalties, John Schneider co-founded the Children's Miracle Network with Marie Osmond. In 1982, the same year the merchandise dispute forced him off the series, Schneider established one of North America's largest children's hospital fundraising organizations. The man whose face appeared on millions of dollars worth of unlicensed merchandise was simultaneously building a charity for sick children. The studio was not a participant. Fact 15. Coy and Vance Duke disappeared in the same episode Bo and Luke returned, with no explanation, never mentioned again. The audience did not write in to ask what happened to them. The departure was tacked onto the beginning of Welcome Back, Bo and Luke, an otherwise standard episode. Bo and Luke return from a NASCAR tour. Coy and Vance leave to tend to a sick relative. 2 characters who had appeared in 22 episodes were gone, as if they had never been. Fact 16. In 2015, TV Land pulled every episode from broadcast. The show that was never political became impossible to air. The Confederate flag on the General Lee's roof had always been there, so had the argument. What changed was the country watching it. Schneider said it troubled him. It's sad to see a show that was not controversial at all wind up in one. The show stayed the same. America didn't. One survived. The other stopped agreeing on what it meant.